Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over my personal history with Monster Hunter. I've been playing Monster Hunter since the first game, but I never really got into Monster Hunter until Monster Hunter 3U came out for the 3DS. Enough of the introductions, let's get the boring stuff out of the way first. First off, the following cinematics you are about to see all belong to Capcom and their individual directors. I'd also like to give a special shout out to IGN for basically being hoarders, for keeping a hold of game trailers, game cinematics, all that good stuff. So thanks to those guys. What you're gonna see in this video are a couple gameplay clips. I should say a couple hunts, not so much as clips. And then some trailers. Maybe not exactly in that order, though. The clips were captured on an Elgato HD 60S, and they were captured on a Nintendo Switch and a PS4 Pro. Monster Hunter came out in America in 2004. September to be exact, almost. I think it's either 4 or 5 months from the original launch date. Back then, I was the type of person who could never actually afford their own games. I was the type of person who took what money they had and they rented their games every weekend. I was either a second or a third year in junior high school. So I'd rent the game every weekend from when I saw it, for the most part. I played it and played it and played it until I hit a wall. At that point, I probably found another game to cling on to, and I probably started playing that. A couple of my friends had PSPs, and they were playing Freedom at one point at school with some other friends. And so one weekend, I should say, when he was staying at my place, he brought his PSP over, a stack of Monster Hunter games, and a stock of games. Monster Hunter Freedom, and Freedom 2, and even Freedom Unite were in that stack. That's how I was able to play those games. However, they were on completed files, and I never actually got to play them from the beginning. So my time fighting Fatalis, or fighting Lao Shanlong, or even the original version of Plesioth with its big old hip swings, all came from somebody else's file. It was never truly my own file. In the case of Monster Hunter 1, the wall that I ended up hitting with that game was Rathalos. I made it all the way to Rathalos before I got stuck, and there was no way for me to get past it. In 2009, another Monster Hunter game would be announced, Monster Hunter Tri, for the Wii of all things. Not the PS3, not the PSP, not the 360, but the Wii. They had wanted to use, I want to say the motion controls with Tri, something weird like that. And so at that point, Monster Hunter games were slowly going to become Nintendo games. But little did I know, they released Portable Third on the PlayStation 3 and on the PSP in Japan only. But later down the pipeline, we would get Monster Hunter 3U on the 3DS. At the time, I owned a 3DS. I'd gotten it for, I want to say, I was playing a bunch of JRPGs on a DSi, and I just wanted an upgrade. So when I had found out about 3U on the 3DS, I was ecstatic. I probably spent more time playing 3DU, not 3DU, but 3U than anything else at that time. I'd sunk hundreds of hours into that game. I love that game. Only problem with the 3DS version, it had no online play. So in order to play with people, you had to have friends who also were playing 3U. Luckily in my area, I knew a few people that had a 3DS and who were playing 3U. So some of the Monster Hunter missions, or some of the higher rank missions and some of the harder missions and some of the G rank hunts, I actually had somebody to play with. Lucky for me. In the end, though, a lot of it was grinding solo, doing Dire Morales solo, doing Elatrion solo, but that was fine. I persevered in that game, to find my joy in a series. Later down the line, before 4U would come out, I got a demo code for 4U. At first, the demo codes were scarce. They only gave... I don't remember how they gave them out anymore. I can't remember. But I remember, before everybody got one, they only handed out like 100 codes to people. Or something like that. It was weird. So I got the demo for 4U. I was playing 4U with people. I had started this hunting group through an anime forum, which is, at this point, on the forum that I was on was for gaming, but it was through an anime forum. And when 4U came out, we had a large group to play with. Everybody had somebody to hunt with, and it was amazing. 4U became one of the best co-op experiences that I could have imagined for. Everybody was always grinding for something, somebody was always down to help you grind for something. And then the end game for 4U came around. Dalamadur, Gamazios, Crimson Fatalis, White Fatalis, Molten Tigrex. Beautiful hunts, amazing hunts, hard, challenging hunts. After that, the game series kind of went dormant for a while. Like nothing was released. And then eventually, Generations was announced. Generations was a greatest hits, if you will, of Monster Hunter. It had everything. Their new introduction for their Fatal 4 monsters were their new monsters: Glavenus, Mizutsune, Gameth, and Astalos. I would only be able to play this game for about a month and a half before my 3DS, at this time I was using a new 3DS XL, had basically shit the bed. It was done. There was no way it would hold a charge without being plugged in. Some of the buttons were mashed in pretty hard. It was a wreck. So I ended up pawning off my stack of JRPGs, my little DSi collection, and my original 3DS. I tried running Generations on my original 3DS, and it just was not having it. It just said no. It would play, but it just didn't play well. So that was the last time I had touched the series of Monster Hunter. And then, in January 2018, Monster Hunter World would release. I don't remember the exact date of the announcement for the first trailer, but I remember the release. I remember playing the beta before the release, and that was one of the best times I've had in a long time playing a co-op game. Outside of Borderlands, outside of doing the main missions for Left 4 Dead, there had been no good co-op games at that point. Well, there have been plenty of good co-op games, but nothing quite like the Monster Hunter experience. So when Monster Hunter World came out for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One and the PC, eventually the PC, I chomped at the bit. I had played the beta, had met a new group of hunting friends. I immediately pre-ordered the deluxe edition. I was so happy that Monster Hunter is back and on a console. That way I can play it on an actual monitor and not a little handheld console. I sunk I want to say 2,500 hours or so in Monster Hunter, and/or Monster Hunter World, and/or Monster Hunter World Iceborne. When the end game of World happened, everybody wondered what was next. Base World didn't have G rank. Everybody knew that eventually Monster Hunter World would have some form of an upgrade. Would it be Monster Hunter World Ultimate, or what would it be? And eventually they announced Iceborne. A whole new area, master rank, harder challenges to climb now. And now, I had dragged some of my friends who'd never played Monster Hunter before into Monster Hunter. I got them hooked into it shortly before Iceborne came out. I showed them how the game worked. I helped them grind out their armors and their weapons. I helped them get through the harder quests of the end game of Base World before Iceborne came out. Then one got deployed overseas. One got promoted to assistant manager at his job. And then another one started playing more PC games. Eventually, the only one I would be able to relink up with after Iceborne came out was my friend who was sent overseas for being in the military. We played whenever we could. Different time zones and all that make it difficult and all that. And eventually we got through Iceborne together. The end game of Iceborne, before Alachion, before Fatalis, before Raging Brachydios, Furious Rajang, before Safi Jiva, was Zinogre and early Guiding Lands. Early Guiding Lands was rough. Zinogre was kind of the only fun thing, but alas, it was just Zinogre. As the extra DLC for World kept coming out, Rajang, Raging Brachydios, Furious Rajang, Safi Jiva, Alachion. I had come back from my hiatus from Monster Hunter World and was ecstatic to play again. I think I took time off to play Borderlands 3 and some other games that I've been wanting to play. come in handy at endgame. And act as a max potion at that. Wow, who would have thought? So me and my friends grinded Valstrax for quite a long time, until everybody had his full gear, had a cavalcade of had most of his weapons, and then we started doing a solo piece. Doing it solo proved to be a lot easier, but it wasn't nearly as fun. The fun was playing with everybody and getting everybody through it. Well, now that we're actually almost done, we're waiting for the next chapter. Big helmets in here. I want to say anniversary poster. I don't remember exactly what it was in the show. But it was a new render of Big Helmets. First time Big Helmets. Any promotional material. Wasn't just difficult. You gotta get through the story fight in order to use SOS to get experienced hunters to help you. For a lot of people around that time, and it's just whatever. I want to say it was either the middle of December or the end of December, we were all done with Monster Hunter World Iceberg. I had put individually over 500 hours in. Some of my friends have put 1,000 hours in. Some of my friends have only put 900 hours in. Most hours I put into a game since 40, since a year. So when my friends had asked, how would I rank my experiences? Somebody's played practically pretty much all the games. I told them I put Monster Hunter Porject as far as content goes. So have trouble with change. My biggest complaint about World, and subsequently I all the designs from World. But his longsword was. That was my major gripe. I figured when Iceborne came out, they would have rectified the weapon designs that were kind of a problem in base World. They didn't. By the time World was coming to an end, they added the layered weapon feature, which made some of them better. But I mean, at that point, if you were using braggy weapons, you probably use raging braggy weapons anyways. Raging braggy, they had learned their mistake. Yeah, everybody was running Fatalis gear. Well, most of Fatalis' gear, almost all of his gear, was made, especially now. In the end, Monster Hunter is always going to be what it is. It's a game. It's going to be taking on the quest. Get on that grind. When Rise comes out, it's gonna be the same gameplay. Some things will change. It was, the center, the openness of the world. Fatalis. I just pound the crap out of it. It's the biggest selling Capcom game of all time, and it's the biggest selling Monster Hunter game of all time. If it wasn't for how user friendly World was, I do not think World would have sold the way it did. And so that's what they're doing with Rise. They're continuing to make Rise user friendly. Better than MT framework push the limits. with all the stuff flying on the screen, all the explosions, all the monsters, players, villages. Games that came out in Japan only, like Frontier, and was it Frontier G? I think they might have been out for other things, but I'm almost positive they were mostly for PC. And then there's what Monster Hunter Online too. I never played those. I've seen trailers for them. I've seen clips of them on YouTube, and they look really interesting. They did. Photo edits, and I could have done a photo edit, but a video project for for Monster Hunter. I wanted to try editing a video for a change. I wanted to try adding a lengthy commentary for a change. Sorry that this is so long. Sorry again. But this is something that needed to happen. Will the rest of my videos be like this? Probably not. I'll try and start keeping them below 30 minutes for the sake of everybody. But this is something that needed to happen. I know I'm kind of rambling and just kind of going off the cuff, but that's fine. Rise comes out next Friday. I should say this coming Friday. It's the 26th, I believe. Which kind of dates this video. And that's fine. I am excited. I'm excited to make videos for Rise. I'm excited to play Rise with friends, old and new. Excited to make new friends. I'm excited to see the armors, the weapons to finally play the Rampage and understand what the hell is going on. They showed off Chameleos in the last trailer, which they didn't really show him off, but they showed that Chameleos was going to be in the game. Beautiful. They brought back one of my favorite Elder Dragons. Chameleos is kind of an asshole, but I think he's beautiful in that way. Him just disappearing and reappearing, and him swiping potions and whatever, just swiping items in general. I think that's a hilarious mechanic. Annoying, but hilarious. He's got one of my favorite female armors of all time, the witch armor. I don't remember what the male armor looks like, but I remember the witch armor. His great sword's one of my favorite great swords. So I'll be excited to farm him when he comes out. And I'll be excited to see what happens with Rise's DLC. I had recently put out a list of 10 monsters I want to see return in Rise. So if anybody's curious, you can find that little list there. I bought, I want to say like 2 Pro controllers to go with my Switch for this. Because it's pretty much, Rise is pretty much all I'm going to be playing for like the next month or so. If not longer. Because honestly, I don't keep up with game releases that much anymore. If something comes out that interests me, I usually pick it up in some way, shape, or form. But anyways, I got my start with Monster Hunter 1. I didn't get really into Monster Hunter until 3U and 4U. Those times were amazing. And then I played Generations, and the line that I make for this little edit would be pretty much all the way through everything aside from a handful of games. I've played almost every Monster Hunter. I like that fact. It makes me happy. I wish I'd have been able to purchase those games back in the day. I wish I would have been able to have the money for a PSP to play Freedom, or Freedom 2, and Unite, and had the joy it would have been to play those games. The only thing I truly remember from my time playing Monster Hunter 1 is the bunk-ass controls and Kokoto. I love Kokoto. It's my starter village. Is it my favorite starter village? No. It ranks up there, though. So like everybody, my final Monster Hunter game was World and Iceborne, and now we're on the Rise. And I am ecstatic. So there is my journey through Monster Hunter. And I think it's a wonderful journey. Even if you've never played all of them, I'm sure whatever jumping point you got into in the series was a great start and a great jumping point. Monster Hunter 3U had swimming, while not everybody liked the swimming, I found it amusing for some of the hunts. Now, granted, when you were playing on a regular 3DS, you really needed to have the Circle Pad Pro. Now, if you were doing the swimming on a normal regular 3DS without the Circle Pad Pro, your hands would cramp, and you would get what they call the claw. Ugh, those are terrible times, but they were still fun. When 4U was announced, the new 3DS XLs were announced along with them. They even had a 4U special edition 3DS. I heard stories that 4U, while it ran on the regular 3DS, it had some trouble here and there, it stuttered. But I never bothered to try it. I always played it on my new 3DS, because it's how I pre-ordered it. And I couldn't have been more happier. I wished I was able to play it on a bigger screen with a controller, though. PlayStation controller, 360 controller, whatever you name it. And in the end, the time I spent with 4U was a fun time. With the new 3DS XL, it was comfortable to play. I was playing with great company, and I couldn't have been happier. So, to sum it all up, Monster Hunter is a game that can be played solo. It can be played with friends. It can be played with strangers. And you can still have loads and loads of fun. As we're coming to the end of this video, and there's still probably like 20 or so minutes left, so this is not really at the end, but we're getting there. So if you're still with me, let me know in the comments below what your favorite Monster Hunter game is, what your favorite location in Monster Hunter is. Let me know what your favorite weapon to play is. Maybe you play multiple weapons. I play multiple weapons. I started with Great Sword, and ended with Charge Blade. I mean, I still play Great Sword, I still play Long Sword, I still play Switch Axe. Charge Blade's been my main weapon since 4U. Let me know in the comments who your favorite monster is, your favorite weapon, your favorite armor, your favorite location. Let's just have a discussion about Monster Hunter. And now, the last topic I want to mention in this video. Everybody seems to have some form of grief with the term Monster Hunter veteran. What does it mean to be a veteran of Monster Hunter? I believe it's anybody who's played more than one Monster Hunter game. So if you came from Stories to World, then you're a Monster Hunter veteran. By the time you finish playing World, I would consider you a Monster Hunter veteran. You came in with prior knowledge of some monsters. They might not have been in World, but at least you had some form of knowledge. These people who are going around making the notion that the veteran players are assholes, are gatekeeping and all that shit, it's kind of annoying. To be honest, it's really annoying. Most of these people, all they want to do is just try and help you. Now, granted, telling somebody to get good is not exactly, advice. And while there's some people that do just that, there's also people that offer their advice. Usually they're people that have been playing Monster Hunter for some time. Or sometimes it's all they play is Monster Hunter, so their advice is extremely valid. So, let me know in the comments below what you think constitutes as a Monster Hunter veteran. But like I said, I think anybody who's played more than one game is a Monster Hunter veteran. Let me know if you guys have any collectible items, like the 4U 3DS, or I think there was a 3DS for Generations too. I remember seeing. I could never get my hands on any of those. The pre-orders for those were always gone by the time I had the money for them. It was kind of sad. But say I got the collector's edition, the physical collector's edition of 4U. It came with a little blue chest out of cardboard. It came with a little Gore Magala figure, a couple buttons, a map of Monster Hunter, I think, and a cloth, and then it came with a lanyard. It was really cool. I think I have all the stuff in it still from packaging. Like, I still have the pins, I still have the lanyard, I still have the cloth. The figure's dusty and kind of out of shape. I clean it as best I can, but it's still kind of dusty. The box is in good shape, though. So, in the end, I don't know how many times I've said that, but anyways, let's keep going here. We got some time. I don't know what I'm going to play in Rise. I think I'm probably going to play Longsword. I think it might be fun to go back and play Longsword. I played it a fair amount in the demo. I played around the Charge Blade. I played around the Great Sword too while in the demo. But I was having more fun messing around the Longsword. I think that's what it all comes down to when you pick a weapon. What's more fun? Back in the day, it was big sword. I was just like, great sword, kill everything. Good times. And then it was long sword does exactly that, but it does it faster. And then it was, ooh, switch axe, 2 weapons in 1. How fun. And then when I played Charge Blade in the demo for 4U, it was just wrecking stuff. It was kind of hilarious. I mean, Charge Blade in 4U just wrecked everything. It was actually way fun. By the time I was finished with 4U, I was able to solo Crimson Fatalis and White Fatalis, no problem with the Charge Blade. It was just dumb how good it was in the game. And then the beta rolled around for World. It's immediately what I played, and I had a lot of fun again, picking up the Charge Blade and just playing with people. In the beta for World and Iceborne, I did almost all the hunts. I killed Gigante in the beta literally the last hour before the beta was done. And it's the same thing with Velkhana with Iceborne's beta. I killed Velkhana literally the last minute. In the beta for Rise, I hunted everything in the Great Azuchi hunt, Great Azuchi and Arzuros. In the Mizu hunt, I've hunted everything in the Mizu hunt, Rathian, Mizu, Great Azuchi. Magnum Malo. I heard that, from what I've read from a post on Reddit, that they juiced Magnum Malo up for the demo. That's the reason why he hits so hard. And if that is the case, it's kind of hilarious. I still find it funny. But Magnum Malo's fight is fun. I haven't completed it yet. I don't know if I'll complete it before the demo ends. I think I've only got like 5 tries left. If the demo is even like the demo is still fully functional. I think Magnum Malo is a good flagship. I think for what I have played of the fight's fun. It's hilarious. It's cool that how you can use the Wirebug dash after you get the Magnum Malo Hellblight to like plant his Hellblight like right back in front of him and let it explode on him and it'll trip him up. I think that's a really cool mechanic. If that's your one takeaway from the demo with Magnum Malo, that you can do that, that is a great takeaway. Every time I get Magnum Malo close to death, that I have gotten him close to death, I always time out. I know you can get the traps out of the box, and you can use a Blast Toad, and you attack the purple flames around his body, almost like you would attack the spikes on your Gigante. And you use his own blight against him, and that's how you make up a majority of the damage. Plus, Wyvern riding, like you can get, if you're smart in the way that you do, you can lure Rathian over there and Wyvern ride Rathian, and use Rathian to beat the crap out of him, or Mizu. And that'll do a lot of quick, dirty damage for you. The way I did it, the way that I've been doing it anyways, is I follow the path of some of the buffs, and then I grab Rathian, I lure Rathian over there and use Rathian for a little while. And then I go ham with traps as best I can. I don't use the exploding toad because it's, for some reason I have a hard time placing it, even though I'm kind of up in his face all the time with the longsword. And then I use the traps like crazy, and I just wail on him with the longsword, doing every combo that I can. Get your longsword to red. Do the what is it? The Wirebug step helm splitter. That's like not nearly as good as the helm splitter from World. I wish they'd added the Sakura slash Wirebug attack from what they showed in the one trailer to the demo, but that's fine. That's negligible. I got some of the EI counters on him though, and that's just beautiful. That's just perfect. Like I couldn't be happier hitting that on him. I mean, I was using as much of the environment that I could every time that I've hunted him. And I think it's a fun thing that they've continued to add from World. I mean, they made the environment usable like they did from World. Quite honestly, that's one of the funnest things about World too. Was you didn't know that when you didn't know there was a yellow boy underneath you, and if there was, you hit it by accident, and you might have, you know, paralyzed your Gigante, or paralyzed your entire team, and just gave your Gigante a big old target to slam into, or Brachydios to explode into, or whatever. It's hilarious. I hope they bring back more of the falling rocks again, because let's be honest, the Elder's Recess, them falling rocks there in the beginning area was great for Arc Tempered Velkhana. It was great on Azure Rathalos in the base game. I know it was great for regular Velkhana when you got, halfway into Iceborne. Those icicles saved a lot of butts. Same thing with the falling rocks in the Vale for Arc Tempered Valhazak. So, as we're winding down in the end, I'm going to go over some of my favorite monsters in the game. The game as a whole. My favorite Elder Dragon is the Halberd Elder Dragon, Gogmazios from 4U. I love the fact that he's got a Dragonator in his back, and that he goes to Dundorma on the regular to eat gunpowder. It's beautiful. It's very fun. After that is Valstrax, my second favorite Elder Dragon from Generations and Generations Ultimate. I think the whole jet thing is it's a really cool mechanic, the way that he speeds around. Next up is Crimson Fatalis, my favorite version of Fatalis. King Crimson, if you will. Had one of my favorite armors, I believe, of all time. There's Molten Tigrex that has, I want to say, easily, I think, either my number one or my number two favorite armor of all time. Molten Tigrex is amazing. Brachydios, Rajang, Lagiacrus, Gormagala. I'm sure Magnamalo will make his way to being one of my favorites. Zinogre, Stygian Zinogre, Nargacuga. I should throw a curveball in there like Nibble Snarf. Or Plesioth. Plesioth in his big old hip box. Chameleos. Chameleos is one of my favorite Elder Dragons. I may groan and moan about him, but he's still one of my favorites. Seregios. Steve, as people like to affectionately refer to him as. I don't remember, was Seregios the monster who started Bleed? Was there older monsters who started Bleed? Am I forgetting what other monster started Bleed status? Tetsukabra. Oh my god. For a starting monster in 4U, Tetsukabra was has been one of my favorites for the longest time. Beautiful. I love that his weapons are like sushi / Yakuza-esque weapons. It's great. Who else am I missing? Astalos. Out of the Fatal Four, believe it or not, Astalos is actually my favorite. I like Mizune, I like Glavenus, but Astalos is actually my favorite. I think his armor is way better, but his weapons could kind of use a little more. There's Atal Khan, the Egyptian bug, as I like to affectionately refer to it as. That whole fight is amazing. Dalamadur. Cannot forget Dalamadur. Probably, Dalamadur is the biggest monster in all of Monster Hunter, I think, if I remember correctly. And Dalamadur probably one of the best fights of all time. Location, sound, the big attacks, the way you've got to climb it. You cannot beat that. That is amazing. Am I forgetting anybody? I mean, Rathian and Rathalos. How could you not, right? Let's see, who else is there? I mean, Nargacuga was a gimme. I might have said Nargacuga already. Nergigante. As much as people like to give Nergigante flack nowadays, because he's the Elder Dragon that eats Elder Dragons type of thing. But whatever, Nergigante is still cool. Devil Joe, there's one that I forgot. Oh my god, the Pickle. Who can forget the Pickle? Devil Joe was probably one of my greatest challenges in 4U. At least when I was doing it like single player and stuff like that, like for when I was doing some of the hub hunts as a single player. Was it? I want to say there was a G rank mission with Devil Joe and Rajang. It was probably the worst thing of all time for me and for you. And then when I overcame it, I was like screaming, like shouting to the heavens. And there's probably a few more monsters that I've missed, but it's fine. It's a pretty big list. There's a lot of monsters. World had a small. They went for like the more like realistic approach, so there was like a small amount of monsters, so it made it kind of weird. But it wasn't until like the end of the game at the end of Iceborne, where they expanded all that. Which is why I think I like Iceborne more than Base World, but that's fine. Anyways, we're coming to an end here. Comment below your favorite monster, your favorite weapon, your favorite village, your favorite song, hell, your favorite game. Let me know what your favorite Monster Hunter is. Let me know how you feel about the term Monster Hunter Veteran. Alright, this is the Phantom Creep signing off.